All right. Hi, Tracy. Thank you so much for joining me here today on Vonvo.com. The date is February 17th. Just wanted to go over two quick things before we got started. The first is that, just so you know, right now this conversation is being recorded, and after it's completed, we'll be posting the discussion to YouTube. Are you okay with us doing that?
Yes, I am.
Cool. And then if anyone happens to join in on the room, here at Vonvo, we're all about, civil and valuable discussions. So we don't want there to be any personal attacks on anyone. Are you fine with those ground rules?
Yes, fine.
All right, great. So let's get started. For anyone who's watching and we have someone inside the room listening to this discussion, um, would you mind just giving our viewers and anyone who watches this video later on a quick background of yourself and why you became so passionate about the Christopher Dorner killings?
Well, I have a background of being brutalized and bullied by police officers and stuff, and that is coming from a very early age. At the age of 5, I watched police sick brothers on my dog.
Really? Okay.
Sick dogs on my brother. Ooh, man, Max, you're getting a horrible. You're getting this. I got this in my headphones. You're getting a horrible feedback, or it's like a delay that I'm getting in my headphones.
Okay, I just lowered my volume so it was a little high. How do I sound right now?
Yeah, okay. All right, now I can no longer hear myself. That was funny. I'm listening to you, and then I'm hearing me speak. Yeah, but the police they sick the dogs to my brother. That's when I was 5. And we're just sitting there my brother's behind the police car, and all we can do is just sit there while we listen to him scream, and the dogs eat him. That was 4th of July, and ever since then, ooh. Okay, fellas, let's get this sound cleared up again because I'm getting my own
Yeah,
voice
yeah.
again.
Larry, do you have headphones, Larry?
No, I've just got the mic on the.
You just have your mic on your ear. Okay, can you make your volume as low as possible because Tracy was hearing feedback?
Sure.
Okay, Tracy, do you want to continue?
Okay, now you're still getting an echo, Max.
Right. So go ahead, Tracy.
Yeah, it's just a matter of culture. Growing up in where I'm from, you just hate police. It's I don't. Are we supposed to curse here because it's really like FTP? You know what FTP is, right?
No, please share with us what that is for anyone who watches that wouldn't know.
FTP comes from an NWA record. It means fuck the police. It means fuck the police all day long. Where they stand. FD.
Great. So yeah, I mean, just so you know, we don't want to have a ton of cursing, but that's fine for anyone who wanted to, know what that meant. That's all good. So ultimately, that's where your stance is, Larry. Do you want to just inform Tracy basically what your stance is on these Christopher Dorner killings, and if you wanted to respond to anything Tracy just had to say?
Absolutely. I have to agree with Tracy. I've seen a lot of police brutality where I grew up in New York. One of my wives actually worked for the New York City Police Department, and I saw brutality in that police station in Brooklyn, New York. I didn't believe it when I saw it because these are guys that I thought were decent guys that we'd go out and have drinks with, and and barbecues and what have you. And I saw people being beaten, abused horribly in that police station. I've had incident myself with the police where I was beaten up for absolutely no reason. I mean, I didn't do anything to them. So when I read the entire manifesto that Christopher, and I read it twice actually, I can understand where this guy is coming from. I mean, let me back up and say that under no circumstances is the murder of innocent civilians okay. I mean, that just goes way beyond, my level of comfort. But I can see where a man who joined the police department because he wanted to make a positive difference in the community and was a sniper, in the Army before that, and was essentially a good guy, but he wouldn't just go along to get along, if you know what I'm saying. My view of the police departments in large cities nationwide is that they're the closest thing to an enormous organized gang that I've ever seen.
Right. Tracy, did you have a response to that?
Yeah, I'm a little. I guess I'm a little to either the left or the right. I guess we was calling. I'm a little to the right of in my overall conservatism of this particular issue, and that is I'm extreme on the right. That's just fine with me. Mr. Dorner's means and how I carried it out and stuff. And I'm over here, got my blue ribbon on, jumping for joy. It's like a party. It's FTP. I'm turned up behind this thing. Turned up. Well, FTP, Larry, that's cool.
And what I'd like to happen, and I doubt will happen, is LAPD has said that they're going to go back and they're going to investigate all of those allegations that Christopher made against the LAPD. But I think they're just going to bury it. I don't think that's ever going to see the light of day. They're going to pretend that they are. But like I said, when you're dealing with, the code blue, these guys, no matter what their buddies have done illegally, they're not going to say anything. So I'm really concerned that those allegations will not be fully investigated, and I think they need to be fully investigated not by the LAPD, not by the state of California, but by an independent commission that will really investigate those allegations and see how true they are. Because I believe they are true. Now, I think they just drove this guy off the brink, by first firing him, destroying his life, ruining his marriage, taking away his ability to make a living. And all he wanted to do was point out that there are bad cops in the LAPD, and not only that, it's as bad now as it was when Rodney King got beaten, and it's as bad now as it was in Rampart. Those areas in southeast LA. But, they're just infamous for being corrupt. And, they're taking dope off dealers, money off of dealers. That's why these guys are driving around in fancy cars. If you look at driveways, and they're out going on cruises and buying boats. It's you don't get to do that on $50 grand a year. These guys are doubling or trebling their income by what they're stealing, from evidence lockers. Off of the perps, on the street.
Right. Tracy, what's your take on this?
So you're not going to get no argument from me, buddy.
Well, I was gonna I was gonna ask Max to factor in the media, to factor in the self-perpetuating. We live in a capitalism, and they sell ad time and airspace off of every story that comes up. So factor in how the media would let this go, let this story go. How would the media not take this thing and maximize their bottom line for their shareholders with it?
Well, I think they would, okay? But the problem is that the LAPD and San Bernardino Police Department are going to clam up, okay, and hide whatever, evidence that there is against them. They're not going to make it easy for the press, in other words, is what I'm trying to say.
Agree.
Right. So, yeah, go ahead, Larry.
The reason that I suggested that Vonvo do this about Christopher Dorner is because I feel very strongly about this. I think that this is going to be seen by maybe hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people. No way to know. But if we don't talk out about it using a wonderful tool that Max has provided for us with Vonvo, where anybody can get up here and we can talk the truth, and we can be broadcast, and then we can be seen on YouTube. Okay? That's going to put a lot of pressure on the media to work. That's going to put a lot of pressure on AD. Okay? And I think that's a good thing.
Okay.
We got to get up here and we got to speak out about it.
Go ahead, Tracy.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Max. I'm trying to run all over you, bro. No, it just occurred to me that we've been talking a good piece here. And nobody has mentioned, nobody's mentioned the ladies, Miss Carranza and Ms. Hernandez, that the LAPD fired on. Much less the guy, I'm ashamed to say I forget this man's name, who was on his way surfing. They jumped out and fired on him too. This thing is a pile of crap, and it's stinking. This whole story.
Well, Tracy, could you elaborate a bit on these items that you're bringing up? Because I'm personally not that familiar with them, and I'm sure a lot of people are not. So for those who watch this, why don't you give a bit of a background on what you're referring to, please?
Okay. Well, before I do, we've got the sound is gone awry again. The sound is, I'm hearing the echo even as I speak. I'm hearing my own words. If we could take a minute to.
Okay. Well, what I was gonna say is if it is bearable, it's coming from Larry's end because he has to have headphones in. So I have Larry on mute right now, so that the video recording that I have going on right now, is going to sound fine. So if you can deal with the bit of the feedback, just continue speaking because it's coming out fine on the video. Okay.
Okay.
And if you mute Larry right now, you shouldn't hear the echo. If you put your mouse over Larry, you can mute him, and then you won't hear the echo anymore. I don't think.
I can mute Larry. Oh my. No, I better not do it. I'll fool around and make Larry disappear.
No, you won't make him disappear. He'll be fine.
There he goes. All right, here we go. The ladies that were delivering newspapers in the morning, Miss Carranza, she was the daughter of Miss Hernandez. Miss Hernandez was the 71-year-old that we keep hearing about. Miss Carranza, she's 47. I refuse to butcher these ladies' first names and stuff. They just deserve too much respect for what they went through. But, wow, we're not even saying these ladies by name. And I mean, that on its face, along with the guy who somehow can't collect the reward money because of the fine print. This whole story, Christopher Dorner being driven, as he was, the ladies being caught up in the shootout and having their truck riddled with bullets the guy, I can't even remember his name, but there's another gentleman. He was rammed by police cruisers. They jumped out, opened fire on him. And then you have the guy who can't collect his reward money. You have a trail of mishandlings in this situation, and this trail of mishandlings is liable to be followed by a trail of deceptions and attempted cover-ups that somehow mitigate this story, somehow bring this thing down a notch. Because right now this thing hasn't reached full culmination. If I could make my own word like Don King would, this thing hasn't reached its full. It's not even there yet. When they get to these other people who are victims of the police and what I call their bloodlust, then that's when this thing really start hitting home. Christopher Dorner, his beat, and then his so-called rampage. That's one thing. But these other people being attacked and shot at and shot by PD, that's a story within itself. The person who can't collect the reward money, that's a story within itself. And the whole, we'll be talking about this thing 10 years from now. This thing will go generations. They've immortalized this man, Christopher Dorner, by burning him out of the cabin.
Really? So, Larry, go ahead and respond. And I just unmuted you, so you're good.
No question about it. But I think, Tracy, it's important to realize that it wasn't just what happened after Christopher Dorner finally cracked. It's all the events that led up to why he cracked that demonstrate just how deep, the corruption is and the brutality is in this particular police department, the LAPD. But I'm talking about nationwide. You look in any large urban city, and you're going to find corrupt police. And not only will you find corrupt police, you're going to find that the majority of police, at least in my opinion, have no choice but to be corrupt, because if they don't, then they're ostracized and they're thrown out, and what happened to Chris Dorner would happen to them. So it's a self-propagating situation, and these are the people that are supposed to be out there protecting and serving up. We're paying their salaries in every city we live in, every day that we go to work. And I know I did my whole working life, but I don't see them out there protecting and serving. I see them out there doing stuff that they should not be doing. Why did we need, 200 cops up there in Big Bear Mountain, for Christopher Dorner? How many cops showed up when these civilians were shot?
Right. So, just because this is our first, discussion on Vonvo relating to Christopher Dorner, I'll ask a interesting question just because I think it would be good to play a little devil's advocate. Tracy, what is your opinion when it comes to the police and a lot of, the good things which they do? Are you also under the impression that you're just all about, FTP, and there's really no good that you believe cops, tend to do? Can you just give us a little bit of your take on that concept?
My heart is black. Cops are dead to me. Cops didn't do no good. It's FTP all day long on every cop.
And pretty. Larry, what about on your end? What is your take on that situation?
Well, I've got to go not quite so far as Tracy did on this. And what I mean by that is that I don't think that all are corrupt, and all cops are brutal. I think that a lot of them have to turn the other cheek while they're partners and they're, colleagues are doing what they're doing. But I think the younger guys, the guys that are just starting out, are really trying to, be good cops, but they just can't be. Sooner or later, there's enough pressure put on them to join out that, they don't have a choice. It's either that or get out of the department, give up, however many years they put in, and very few of them are going to be willing to do that. But I think that, we've heard enough stories, okay, that they want to show on CNN or your local TV of where the cops saved this one or cops saved that one, and those are true incidences. So we can't say that every one of them, okay, are going to, be brutal. But I think we can say that there's going to be enough pressure on these guys where if they don't just go along with the program, they're going to be more Chris Dorners, and it's not a good thing.
Right.
This guy should never have been pushed as far as he was pushed.
Right. So, question to you, Tracy. Mentally, do you think that Christopher Dorner was playing with a full deck? I mean, do you think he was totally there on, because obviously there'll be plenty of people that blame this on a mental issue, and you clearly, see this as a person who's really just trying to stand up for his rights, and for what he thought he believed in as a police officer and being terminated. I mean, what's your opinion on how mental health played into this topic, into this subject?
Somebody told me just the other day that insanity is the natural response to an insane world. Messed me up completely. And I was like, "You're right. You're right." So no, I don't think he was mentally unstable. I think was wrong with the man. He had purpose, carried it out. If we were going to say that he was mental some kind of way, what would it have been? PTSD? What we have called it? What we have labeled it? Would we have said that he couldn't have been depressed because he was up every morning doing what he was doing, putting in his work? No, nothing like that. But I think we have a hard time figuring out how somebody can rise up and then fulfill what is essentially their dream, no matter how dark that dream be. I mean, we may not understand it, but no, I don't think he was mental. No.
Okay, no problem. Steve, you've joined our conversation. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. Hey, what's getting a lot of feedback from the audio? Why is that?
It's partly due to Larry doesn't have headphones in, and either do you.
He's got a raggedy system.
Yeah, okay.
If you put your mouse over Larry's picture, you can mute his camera, and then you won't hear that feedback. But you can go ahead and give your take on this Christopher Dorner shooting.
My feel is, I'm not a kid. I'm not a little boy. I was around when that Rodney King thing happened, and I couldn't believe that all them corrupt LA cops are still in the police department. And my take on it is, what? No human, no matter what they done, needs to be burned alive.
Ooh.
Larry, did you want to respond?
No, I'm not going to argue with Steve. You guys have heard the position, Steve. You're a little late getting here, but I think that pushed to the edge by LAPD. I think he was trying to do the right thing by turning in brutal police officers, and it ended up costing him his job, his livelihood, his his reputation. And bottom line is that they pushed him to it.
I agree with you. Yeah, I read the manifesto. No, he sounded like he was a pretty good police officer, and he just wanted it. To me, what I read is he just wanted those corrupt cops to come forward and admit what they were doing. What they did was wrong, and they wouldn't step up and admit. So, from what I read, he declared his name to admit they were wrong, and they pushed him over the edge. I mean, if you get a scared dog, you back a scared dog in the corner, he's gonna bite. So I agree with Larry 100%. They pushed him over the edge.
That he made in that manifesto. You can count on it.
Right. So
I listen to a lot of the scanners, and these are law enforcement that are supposed to protect the people, and the language they used out there, with burn that effing cabin down and all that other, these ears are not trash cans. We don't need to hear that, but and they're supposed to be professionals using that language. Come on.
Cheer guys in there first, but then they threw in the poly, whatever they call them, those burners. They knew that was going to set with that man in there. So what do you call people that'll do that to somebody? They're supposed to bring him in, arrest him. Okay, I mean, guys shooting at him, they can shoot at him. If he's not presenting a threat to him, or he's ready to walk out and give up, they shouldn't be setting him on fire in the cabin.
right.
When they put that reward out, it was $1 million, but they also said for the arrest and conviction. They didn't have no interest in bringing that man in alive. And it's just, it's sad, but it's got to come to an end. LAPD, and not just LAPD, but a lot of them, they all push their limit. I live in Cathedral City, California, and I used to drive a cab, and now I do long haul, but there was an officer that got arrested, and I used to see him at this bar called the Showgirls all the time. Well, he got arrested for going to a party for disturbance. There was a bunch of women in the pool. He was on duty, and he took it upon himself to get naked and get in with the women while her husband was shooting pictures. But he's history. He's no longer on the police force. So they all got that badge, and they think they could just do anything. It's sad, but I don't
understand.
I wouldn't burn a dog alive, let alone a human. I wouldn't burn nothing alive. It's cruel, unusual punishment.
If the guy's firing at him, fire back. But you're supposed to do the most you can possibly do, like to try to get the guy out, talk to him, talk him down. Why did they not do it with Christopher Dorner?
I don't know. God only knows.
You got hostage, rescue.
Was there.
You can't control what happens out there. You can't control once that thing is going down.
Right. So
I think Christopher Dorner, he knew what it was when he got involved like that.
Continue, Tracy. Sorry, I cut you off. My bad. Keep going.
Yeah. I was just saying you can't control, what happens after you put something like that in motion, and something that Christopher Dorner has like this immortalizing his name, this martyrdom, and going into history as he has, because we will be talking about this a generation from now. That's I believe that a generation from now. So he solidified his legacy. And those things they do not come without expense. They do not come without somebody being burned in a cabin. Those things are what it takes for immortality, which Christopher Dorner has achieved here, immortality. And that comes at getting burned in a building. That comes, that comes with heavy sacrifice. That comes with fire and smoke. That comes with Hollywood effects. And that's what happened here. He couldn't control that. He knew it would go down like that. He knew it would be a blaze of glory. That's what they call that thing, a blaze of glory. And that's how we seen it, and that's what happened. Either right or wrong, man, that is what it is. You watching a gazelle, go across the savannah, and a lion jumps up and eats the gazelle. Who are you gonna feel sorry for?
Right. So, guys, I guess I'll ask this to. Go ahead, Larry. Go ahead, Larry. Sorry.
Christopher Dorner, I believe, knew exactly what was going to happen to him. In the manifesto, he said that he was going to go out on top of the world. Well, right up there in Big Bear Mountain is a road that's called Rim of the World. Rim of the World, correct. And I believe that he knew that he was going to get stuck on top of that mountain, that he was going to have his last stand, because he had nothing left to live for. They took everything away. Sorry for my echo, guys.
That's okay. Steve,
I'm angry about this.
You guys, what I was going to do is I was going to ask you each a question. It kind of got brought up a little bit earlier, but I'll ask it now. And I guess we'll start with Tracy, and then Larry, and then Steve. What do you think, negative or positive, the mass media, the role that they played in this subject? What's your feelings on how the mass media covered it, and how do you think maybe a platform like Vonvo can maybe help in educating others about topics such as these, which I'm learning about a lot just by being here and listening to you guys. So what is your take on that, Tracy?
The mass media, the mainstream media, I don't think they've yet to handle it. I think they're still, doing what they have to just in order to maintain the status quo right now. I think it's too hot for them. There is no handling it right now. I believe the mass media were still expecting, to be covering the State of the Union address, and they were really, because of the Love Boat cruise. The Love Boat got more. I don't mean to call it that. Those poor people, they were suffering when the ship problem they had on Carnival cruises. That they allotted a lot of time to that. They allotted a lot of time and resources to those other stories while Christopher Dorner was going on. I saw an unreadiness in mainstream media. They just couldn't pull away from what they had already made commitments to, the Carnival Cruise story and the State of the Union address. And meanwhile, this is the biggest story of the decade. And that's wow, this is a huge story. But we're seeing this Carnival Cruise, and we're seeing it's on all channels. It was on MSNBC, it was on Fox, it was on CNN, just fast, and you couldn't get out of that thing. It was like somebody put Rick Astley on your computer. Never gonna give you up, for real. So I believe they're just now started to dwell into this thing. And once they get there, this isn't going away. Once they get there, once they start allocating and getting people, back in and sent over, and once they, rearrange the resources and stuff and start selling new ad space for their Christopher Dorner, Christopher Dorner. Once they start marketing and selling that ad to their sponsors and stuff, well, then we'll get to see more coverage on it. And that how are they handled? Well, of course, it's like one-sided. They can't understand, people who are critical of the police, or to a level that I am. I mean, I understand that. You don't expect everybody to go like that. That's why I love you, Larry. That's why I love you, Steve. You're level-headed and stuff. I come out and say what the darkest, say the darkest part of it. I come out, from the most more emotional part of it and stuff. I understand that. That's what I'm supposed to. This number on here is for 687-380-65. That's who I speak for. But so I think that Vonvo. Okay, this whole thing, this whole social media, this is huge. This is the first time in history that this could have happened. This didn't exist at a time. This is only 8 years old. Facebook is only 8 years old. This thing didn't exist at the time of Rodney King. This didn't exist at the time of WTC, World Trade Center. Huge stories. So we'll have to wait and see for that, because we really don't have a reference to go back and say it was like something. This is like nothing that's ever happened. And, hey, that's, and my, thumbs up to Vonvo for what you're doing. Hey, man, love you, Max, for what you got going here. And, it's, I think we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I don't have a reference to go back and look at. I think the media, go back over what I just said, the media is, still not ready to cover this story. They still haven't got the proper protocols in order on how we're going to handle it, who's going to handle it, who's going to talk to whom. And that, that's a cold thing when you got real time, real news, but yet you have these protocols in politics and administrative issues that you have to go through just to report the news. And, that's where I am with it.
Right. Larry, go ahead.
I'm so excited about Vonvo.
Right. Larry, go ahead.
This is what I'm going to make a prediction. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. We're in the age of information now. We got Google. When people Google video Christopher Dorner, what do you think is going to pop up? We're going to get seen. If we get seen by one serious media personality, this thing is going to go viral. Millions of people are going to get to see what we're talking about here today. And they need to see what we're talking about today. I don't think that there is any other medium that we could accomplish this with. I mean, who are we? Nobody knows us. We've never appeared on TV. Okay? But if people get an opportunity to listen to what we're saying, it could make a positive difference. This is a unique opportunity to do that.
Great. And Steve.
Max.
Yeah, that's good, Larry. Yeah, I agree with Larry. This thing with Chris Dorner, it brings me back to like when they had that Waco thing, when they burned all them people out and those kids. It was the same thing. It was almost darn near the same thing, and I just couldn't believe it. The media was there, but I think the police kind of controlling it and what was put out. And I got most of my information off of the internet, through Facebook and different places. But and it was all, and most of the media was all about Chris Dorner. and then you see about the triumph. But then after Chris made his last few minutes on top of that mountain, it was all about the triumph. But I just I don't know what went on out there that day, but it's biblical. What's done in the dark would be brought to light, and that's what Chris was trying to do: bring stuff to light. What the LA Police Department was doing, have been doing it, and will continue to do it until the people get enough of it.
Great.
So that's my little input on that.
The bottom. Get out all of the corrupt and brutal officers and replace them with guys and pay them enough where they can make a decent living without having to do all of this crap. And make sure that we have a robust internal affairs oversight of all of these guys.
Right.
And pay them enough to do their job.
All right. So does anyone have anything that they'd like to add? Because I mean, ultimately, we would love to have each of you back to discuss this topic. This is the first, Christopher Dorner Vonvo we're having, and I think the amount of information with which each of you were able to share with us, was probably potentially far and beyond, what others are maybe receiving. And so, if anyone has anything else to add, that'd be great. Otherwise, I wanted to thank you each for your time. And we can definitely have this occur again.
That sounds good. That's great. Yeah. I will more than be happy to be here.
All right, great.
Yeah, my brothers, Larry and his team, they said it best. Let them have last word.
All right, great. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you for the invite. Thank you, Max, Larry, Tracy.
Thanks so much for your time, guys. And, thank you so much.